Hey, what's up guys? This is Bailey Today we'll be checking out ZTE's latest affordable smartphone available on Cricket Wireless. This is our full video review of the ZTE Grand-X Max 2. The Max 2 reminds us a bit of the recently announced Axon 7 with its subtle curve to help with handling and similar port and button locations. Unlike the Axon 7, however, the Max 2 is constructed entirely of plastic. You could even say that the rear cover's gloss is similar to what Samsung used on the Galaxy S4. Nice in the hand, but definitely a fingerprint magnet. It's also not the best at resisting scratches, unfortunately. Sadly, my unit did suffer a 1 meter drop onto concrete, and while the plastic fared well, the right side of the band chipped considerably, so you may want to pick up a case if you're clumsy like me. The ZTE's blue color scheme and patterned rear are both remarkably subtle, but nice nonetheless. And although the Max 2 is pretty big, it's fairly manageable in the hand, thanks to it being a bit narrower than similarly sized smartphones like the Nexus 6. The 3 illuminated capacitive keys are customizable, meaning that you can choose where you'd like the back button to go, which is a great setting to have. The Max 2's beautiful, large, 6-inch 1080p display offers a great immersive media consumption experience. If you watch a lot of videos, TV shows, or movies, you'll really enjoy this phone. And for the price, the display is one of the best we've seen. It has great color reproduction, very good contrast, just the right amount of saturation, and it's reasonably readable outdoors. The 2.5D curved glass is also a very nice touch. The Snapdragon 615 successor, that is the Snapdragon 617, is powering the Max 2 and is complemented by 2GB of RAM. Overall, the Max 2 is a solid performer. It's not going to do particularly well in benchmark tests, but it's still pretty good day to day, with only a few UI hiccups. The Adreno 405 GPU may hinder the phone's gaming performance with slower load times and some minor frame drops during gameplay, but even high-end games like Asphalt 8 are still very playable. Call quality with the ZTE seemed to be excellent on the Cricket network. There is 16GB of internal storage, but that can be expanded up to 64GB with a microSD card. Although we were happy to see ZTE include a Quick Charge 2.0 enabled USB Type-C port, which is the newer, now reversible standard, we were disappointed with the lack of a fingerprint reader. The vast majority of smartphones this year have shipped with readers, so it seems a bit odd not to include one, even though this is an affordable offering. The single side-firing speaker on the Max 2 sounds great, with only minor distortion at higher volumes. There is also a hi-fi audio chipset on board, which will appeal to those wanting to use headphones. With normal usage, the Grand-X Max 2 has no trouble reaching about 5 hours of screen-on time thanks to its 3400 mAh battery. During one of our tests, however, I used Google Maps for about an hour and a half and then had a 40-minute Google Hangouts video call, which resulted in just under 3 hours of screen-on time. Despite this, I was never able to kill the Grand-X Max 2 before the end of my day. Lighter users may even be able to achieve 2 full days of use. ZTE has included a secondary rear camera, which appears to help the software bokeh mode. Unfortunately, this mode did not perform very well in our testing, and there doesn't appear to be any other use for the dual camera setup. Sadly, the images produced by the Grand-X Max 2's 13-megapixel rear camera are disappointing, and below average, even for the price. Many of the images that I took are noisy despite good lighting. The images are also very soft, especially near the corners. To be fair, some of these images are just simply out of focus, but that can be blamed on the phone's slow and inaccurate autofocus. In addition, color reproduction can be horrendously bad, especially when capturing warmer colors like red and orange. Low light performance was also below average for the price. The phone couldn't focus correctly for virtually every shot, and when it did, images came out extra noisy. It's a shame that the camera doesn't hold up well too, as ZTE's camera app is actually quite good, offering an easy-to-use automatic shooting experience. There's also built-in time-lapse and panorama modes, as well as a surprisingly comprehensive manual mode. The Max 2 runs a lightly skinned version of Android 6.0.1 Marshmallow. Outside of a few notable UI and functional changes, the software here is pretty much stock Android. The most major change is likely the lock screen, since the unlocking mechanism is to press and hold rather than to swipe up. Although we generally liked this idea, we found that the phone would unlock itself while in a pants pocket, opening apps and placing calls on more than a few occasions. One thing to note regarding our Cricket wireless model is the bloatware that comes preloaded. It's not terrible. There's only about 10 apps that are pre-installed, most of which are games. Plus, you can uninstall all but 3, which appear to be helpful for Cricket subscribers anyway. You can purchase the Grand-X Max 2 in blue exclusively from Cricket Wireless for $200. Unfortunately, there's currently only one 16GB model available, and those wishing to store large files will have to rely on the expandable storage, up to 64GB. The ZTE Grand-X Max 2 is an excellent choice for those on Cricket looking for a large, affordable smartphone. Although we would have liked to see a much better camera, stronger build quality, and a fingerprint reader, it's hard to fault the Grand-X Max 2 for its price. The Max 2 exceeds where it needs to, with a beautiful display, great battery life, and an excellent software experience. If you don't take many images, you will likely be very happy with this phone. Thank you for watching our video review of the ZTE Grand-X Max 2. Please be sure to like this video if you liked it, and don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. Finally, be sure to visit the Android Authority website for additional coverage, as we are your source for all things Android.